the final moment as we search for nirvana and balance. Yes, my children, all things in balance is exactly what we have today with the Lauten LA-220 V2. Full disclosure, Lawton did send me this microphone and another one for a future review, as well as some fun things we're going to do in the future. Stay tuned for that. But for now, they know that this video is all mine and they have no say in everything. And considering my track record, well, with that in mind, let's see if this microphone meets those criterion I stated before as we dive into one of the prettiest microphones that I've ever been hands-on with. And that is exactly what we have here. An absolute experience to unbox, and what a bloody beautiful presentation. Now, at this price point, this is exactly the kind of packaging you should expect with a microphone. Not over the top, but also allowing you to keep the packaging as a protective case for the microphone. It's a nice touch. When you get it out of the box, well, you get a great looking microphone. Just a touch of give in the grill, and the rest of the microphone is powder coated black with that red logo on the front. It is a really nice looking microphone. 2 switches on the front as well. You have a high pass filter as well as a low pass filter, something that is a bit different for a studio condenser mic. Now, we'll get into the importance of that a little bit later on. This mic retails around the $350 US mark, so we will keep that in mind while doing comparisons later. This thing is a hand-tuned FET condenser microphone with the cardioid polar pattern. It's 20 Hz to 20 kHz, has a max SPL of 130 dB, sensitivity of 16 millivolts per Pascal, self-noise of 15 dB A-weighted, low-cut filter at 120 Hz, and the high kicks in at 12 kHz. And you can see those in action here with the frequency response graph. The low cut is rather average, but that high cut is rather aggressive. And again, we'll chat about why that is in a bit. Now, Lauten is based in California. This is literally a family-run company, meaning there are 7 people running the place. It's about as boutique as you can get when you're talking about a microphone company. They are known for a wide range of mics that have been the talk of the industry since they launched the brand in 2006. And while they have some mics that come with an absolute eye-watering price tag, they also have mics like this one, the LA-220, probably one of the most requested reviews to date. A mic that receives the same quality of care as the other high-end tube mics. That is the beauty of boutique microphone companies and what tends to set them apart from the larger corporations. Now for the off-axis rejection test of the Lauten Audio LA-220. This is me speaking about 4 inches off the front of the capsule. Now I'm about 4 inches off the side of the capsule. Now I'm talking directly into the rear of the capsule. Now for the plosive rejection test of the Lauten Audio LA-220. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now for the proximity effect test of the Lauten Audio LA-220. This is me speaking about 4 inches off the front of the capsule. Now I'm directly on top of the capsule. 4 inches directly on top. So now let's take a look at the switches on the Lauten Audio LA-220. You have 2 things here. You have a low-end roll-off and you have a high-end roll-off. Now let's take a look at what it sounds like with the low-end roll-off. Now the Lauten Audio has the low-end roll-off, and I'll put the specs up here for the roll-off. I don't have them on hand right now, but this is what you can expect when you have that low-end roll-off. Now we have the high-end roll-off. And you're going to notice the mic gets a lot darker all of a sudden. This is what it sounds like with that high-end roll-off engaged. What do you think of the sound? Now we have both the low-end roll-off and the high-end roll-off engaged. And this is the audio you're getting out of it. And we're going to test this out on an instrument as well. Okay, so we're going to kick this off with the Blue Spark up against the Lauten LA-220. And the differential as we go between them. Now you're going to notice this being the LA-220 and this one being the Blue Spark. This is going to be interesting as we go through. I'm pulling a couple different microphones out of the locker for this one because I feel like we need to get the true breadth of what this microphone offers. All right, then now we have the Lauten Audio LA-220 up against the SE-2200. At this point, I feel like I'm actually bringing out some of my favorite mics of the past to put up against the Lauten Audio because I actually really have enjoyed the sound of this microphone. So which one do you like as I go between these two? The Lauten Audio LA-220 or the SE-2200? Now we have the Lauten LA-220 up against the Rode NT1 5th Gen. And once again, kind of going through some of my favorite microphones. And this is one of my favorites over the past year. This is the new refresh by Rode of the NT1 that has the USB connection. Now, this is all through XLR, don't worry. No hoodwinking going on here. But which one do you like as I go between the Lauten LA-220 and the Rode NT1 5th Gen? Now, I was going to include the NT2A, however, I forgot that I haven't swapped the capsule back, so we're just going to go with the Lauten LCT440 as our final microphone. And this should be a tale of two microphones. This one is not an overly bright, but it is a very clear microphone. It's very articulate up against the warmer LA-220 by Lauten. Which one do you like as I go between the two of them? So that flat, balanced approach is kind of the holy grail of studio mics, isn't it? Nice tight low end, clear mids, and silky highs with some nice presence to finish it off. Not an easy ask these days, especially at this price point. The highs on this mic they're up there. And if you're sibilant like me, this might be an EQ curve waiting to happen. But again, my lispiness is not everyone's experience, so your mileage may vary. There's also just a touch of muddiness in the mids for my voice, nothing that a small notch on the EQ won't cure either. All in all, balance. But here's the thing. Balance for voice may not be balance for instruments. A flute, for example, has a much different demand for a microphone than a voice. And with FET condensers or solid-state non-tube microphones, that beloved clarity can become a bit of a hindrance. So no matter how balanced a studio microphone is, it's utter trash if it isn't working with the frequencies it's being fed. And that's why this low-pass filter is a game changer on this microphone. As you heard on my Portuguese ukulele, it can come in handy, which is the most important thing for a lot of studios: versatility. A $350 investment that can be used on multiple voicings is pretty huge. And if you're like me and a U87 isn't in your budget, well, this thing might just be the next best thing. Okay, so first up, it's a beautiful sounding microphone. The coloration of off-axis is quite low, and I was rather surprised at that for this price point. The proximity effect isn't brutal either. Sure, it kicks in, but the coloration isn't egregious, and the inherent muddiness is rather limited. It's very impressive. Of course, as I mentioned earlier as well, this is a Swiss Army knife of microphones. It's super versatile, and it'll fit in almost any microphone locker. As for the cons, and there is only one, I did notice just a touch of resonance from it, but not overly much. At the max sound pressure level, that might cause just a touch of distortion, but I doubt anyone not named Dylan is going to hear it. Otherwise, if you're using this as a desk mic, try not to ping it. As for recommendations, this is a pretty easy one, and something that is cool when you buy from a boutique company like Lawton. They don't have capital to release garbage. Their reputation is hanging on each and every microphone. A company like Neumann can have QA issues with the BCM 104 like we saw in our older video. They can just shrug it off. But a company like Lawton is going to make sure those little checks are being done. It's a very refreshing microphone from a world that is becoming more and more overwhelmed with mass-produced options at this price. So, it is a feel-good purchase for more than just the sound of the microphone. Stay tuned as well. We have more coming from Lawton and from this, the LA-220. Cheers.